So first we will going to start with the list. So what is list? A list is an ordered collection. We can store duplicate values also in this list. So normally, let me open my anonymous window here. How we will going to declare or initialize this list? Normally, if we are having the single value, then this is the way we used to do. This will be the integer, okay, and any variable name we will going to add here, like the num1, and here we will going to store the 10. But in case of list, now when I want to store multiple values, you will going to declare a variable in this way. This will be the list. Okay, why list? Because multiple values are there. So what will be the data type of that multiple values? You will going to add within this operator. Okay, now that will going to be of integer type. Okay, now we will going to provide the name. Okay, similar name as we did here in this num1. Okay, so this time it will be the list of number. Okay, in this way some readable name we used to provide, okay, so that other can also able to understand what this list contain. Okay, so the list of number now is equals to new list and again the data type. Okay, so both the sides, this list and the data type will going to remain same, so this is known as initialization. Okay, this is known as initialization of the list. Now here, this is the list we have created. Now in this list, you can add all the multiple values of integer type, not of the string type, not of the boolean type. Okay, only of the integer type only you can add the multiple values to this variable. That is the list of num. So now let's see how we will going to create this list and how they used to work. One more thing we will discuss. Let's suppose, let me clear this out. We are having these three values, 10, 20 and 30. Okay, now I want to store all these three values. So how we will going to store? In a list I will going to store. The first we are talking about currently only for the list, okay, not other collections. Okay, I want to store them into the list. So first we created the variable like of name list of num. Okay, now in this variable I want to store all these three values. So how they will be stored? So a list will be created of this type, and here based on the index, the three values will be added. So first 10 will be added to this list, okay, then 20 will be added to this list, and then the finally 30 will be added to this list. In this way the values will be added, so this will going to known as the list. Okay, and here the index are also available in the list, so this will be the 0th index first. Okay, based on the index you can easily get to know what value is available on the 0th index. Okay, so or you can call it as the address also. Based on this I want to access the values. Now they will always start from the 0, not from 1. The index always start from 0. So at the 0th place the first value which you have added to the list will be available to you. Now the next whatever the value you will going to add, in the second index it will be available. As it is started from 0, now the second index will be the 1. Now the third index will be the 2. At 2, the third value whatever you have added will be available to you. Okay, so what it is saying here, that list is a ordered collection. Okay, and we can store duplicate also into the list. So what does this mean, ordered collection? In whatever the order you will going to add the data into this list, in the same order it will be saved. Okay, if first you will going to add the 20 to this list, then on the list 20 will be added first. Okay, now if you want to add the second on the second number 30, then the 30 will be available to you on the second place only, and then finally 10. Okay, it will be in the ordered format. In whatever the way user will going to enter the value, in the same way the list will going to add the values. Now the next is it can also store the duplicate values. What is duplicate value? Let's suppose now I am having the numbers 10, then 20, then again 20, and then finally 30. Okay, these four numbers I want to store. Now in this case, how it will going to store the value? First 10 will going to come on the 0th index. Now the 20 will come, then again 20 will come, and then finally 30 will going to come. So here 20 is the duplicate value. It will not going to remove the duplicate. It will always going to store the duplicates also in the case of list. Okay, in the case of list, the duplicate values are also stored in the same manner the way you will going to add to them. Okay, so this is about the list. Now let's move to the anonymous window and let's see how we will going to add the values and how it will going to store the values. Okay, so this is the list of integer we have seen. Now let's.
Ma'am, hello.
Yes, yes.
Ma'am, list is only for the that
No,
integer value, yeah, only for the text. We can use for the text also.
the data type can be anything. Okay, it can be anything among all these three, like it can be string, it can be decimal, boolean, it can be anything. Okay,
So
so integer is the
like
example I just shared. Yes.
okay, okay. Suppose if we have a text like A, B, C, so
Hmm.
how it can be placed in the list?
Just give me a minute. So what you are saying that you are having the text A, B, C, D, it's a continuous characters or the different?
Suppose you can consider D, C, B like that. So how it can be placed in the list? Like
Like
first it
this
will
you are
come D.
saying A, B, C, like this you are saying, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so it will going to come in the same order. If you will going to enter add the A, then A will going to come at the first place, then V will be stored, then C, and then D. But if they are the continuous characters like A, B, C, and D, okay, if this is a single word, then on the first place the complete word will be stored A, B, C, D. Okay, now the second
Okay.
word I want to store E, F, G, H. Okay, now on the second place E, F, G, H will going to store in this way.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Got it. Okay. So now let's move to the window. Here, let's try to create the list. Okay, where we're going to add the multiple values and then we will see output how it will going to look like. So the first thing is always we will going to declare and initialize the list. Okay, so I want to store the names of candidate. Okay, so the names will be of text type. Okay, in this case, what will be the data type? The data type will be string because I want to store the different names. So let's create a list of string type because my value is the name. Okay, so let's name it as list of candidates is equals to new same. Now the list of string. Okay, string values I want to store. Now the next is how we will going to add the values to this list. So you have the two option. At the time of initialization itself, you can add the different values to this list, and using the method also we can add the values in this list. So how we can add at the time of initialization? So within this parenthesis, okay, within this parenthesis you can add the multiple values whatever you want to store. Let's add here some values. So I want to store the name John. Okay, then separated comma, this is the first value. Now the second name I want to store, it will be Bob. Okay, now the next I want to store anything like test. Okay, these three name I want to store. Now at the time of initialization itself, the three values are added to this list. Okay, so in the next line we will going to print what values are added to the list so we can get to know what different values are added. Okay, so system.debug is the one using which we able to see the output. Okay, whatever the values I want to know which values are stored to the particular variable, then you can use system.debug. So here we're going to print this list. Okay, in this way. So this is the first way. At the time of initialization itself, you can add the values. Now the next is using the method also, we can add the list. So what is the method name? So let's add new value. Now to which list I want to add the value? To this list I want to add the value. So you will going to copy the name of the list. Now we will going to use the function add. Okay, in using this function, whatever the value you want to add now next you can add. So let's add next name, the test one. Okay, so this is the next name I want to add to this list. Now again we will going to print the same list so that we can see whether the fourth value is added or not. Okay, so let's try to print this much first and then we'll move forward. This open log and then execute highlighted. Okay, so the error is there on the line number 3 is equals to new. Okay, so this instead of parenthesis, this needs to be the curly braces. At the time of initialization, if you want to add the value, then it needs to be within the curly braces. But if you don't want to add the value, then you will going to have the parenthesis only. Okay, but if you want to add the values, then you will going to add within the parenthesis. Curly braces, sorry, in this way. Now let's execute this part. So from here, we're going to click on this debug only. Okay, so that we can able to see what debugs we have added. Here, let's open the code also. So the first line is the 3 values we have added to this list. Okay, now on the next line we print it so we can get to know what values are added. So as here you can see for the line number 5, this is the debug, this is the line number 5 and this is the debug. At this time your list is having 3 values, John, Bob and test. So the value will be available in the same order in which you have added. Okay, it is nothing like that the Bob will going to come first, then John and then test. No, the same order you have added the values, it will be available to you in the same order. Now next we have added one more name to this list and again I printed this list. So here you will see now the fourth name is also added here, that is the test one. Okay, and this way you will going to access the value from the list. So now 4 values are added to this list. Okay, next is let's suppose I want to access some value from this list based on the index number. So we have discussed whenever the data is saved into the list, now the index are also available in the list. Okay, starting from 0, the first value whatever available, it will be available on the 0th place, then first and then second. Now let's access the value based on this index. Okay, so I want to access the value which is available at the first index, which means the second value. This will be saved on the 0th index. This will be on the first index, then the second and the third. So let's access this value which is available on the first index. So how we're going to access? Let's add the debug. Now here from this list, you will going to add the square bracket and in this square bracket we will going to add the index. Okay, so I want to access the value which is available at the first place or the first index. Similarly, let's add another index also. Here I want to access which is available at the fourth place. Okay, no, 4 is not there. 0, 1, 2, 3. 3 is the maximum, so at the third place. So now let's try to debug this. Let's add here also. So this is for the first and this is for the third index. Let's see what values are available at first and the third. Okay, now you will see at the first index because John is available at the 0th index. Okay, it always start from 0. Now 0 after 1 will come. So at 1st place, Bob is available. Okay, now 2 and 3. 3 at the third place, test 1 is available. So it has given you the same value. So based on the index, you can access the value from the list. Okay, got it. So let's try to add the duplicate also. Okay, as we have discussed that list also store the duplicate. So I will going to store the duplicate value again in this list. So let's copy this. Add is the function using which I can add the more value. So I will going to add the Bob again here. Okay, and then let's see whether it will going to show me the Bob twice or not. Okay, so Bob is also added again here. Now let's execute. So this is the debug. Here you will see here the debug of 10th line, John, Bob, test 1 and the Bob. Bob is available twice here, which means it will going to accept the duplicates also in the case of list. Okay, and now how many index are available? 0, 1, 2, 3 and 4. 4 index are available. Okay, In this way, we will going to store the value into the list, and if you want to access the values, then based on the index, you can access the value from the list. Okay, multiple values we have added. Any doubts
Uh,
still here?
Hello,
Yes.
ma'am. For the adding of the value to the list,
Hmm.
you're putting that new value to list, right?
Hmm.
Suppose if we want to remove something from the list, so what we can do?
So for
Instead
this,
of add,
we
we can,
yeah,
yeah.
you will going to use the remove function here. Okay, it will going to help you to remove the value. Then again in the remove, you will going to pass the value. This is the value I want to remove. But we will not going to remove or use the remove function. This we will see later on when we work with the scenario of Apex class with the for loop. Okay, there we will see
Okay,
how we will going to remove the values, because remove function we will not going to use in the for each loop only. We will going to manage the values. Okay,
okay,
so
okay,
at that time we will see how we will going to manage these different values here. So for now
okay,
only the basic thing we will see, that how to get the values, how to add the values, and how to access the values. Okay, now the next is, as you can see here, multiple values we have added. Now how we will going to iterate a loop over these different values. So one by one I can access the values. Okay, for loop. Now we will going to see the for each loop in the Apex, which you will going to use every time. Without this for each loop, there you will not going to write any code. Okay, so what is for each loop here? Using this loop one by one, now we can able to access what different values are added to this list. Okay, loops are always added to list, set, and map, not on the single value. If there is a single value, then there is no use of iterating over the loop. Loop is always used when we will going to have the multiple values, and on each values I want to perform any automation or any modification or changes. Okay, so now let's see how we will going to iterate a loop and access one value one by one. Okay, the values from the collections. Now let's go back here. So in the case of for each loop, how we will going to write this? So the for is the syntax we will going to write. Then the parenthesis will come. Now within this parenthesis, you will going to add the values. So the first one, the first thing will going to come is the data type. What is the data type of your list on which you want to iterate? Okay. So what is the data type of your list here is? It is a string. So first thing we will going to write the string here. So this is the data type. Now the space will come. Now the next thing will going to come here is the variable. You need to assign some or you will going to create some variable here like the str. Okay. Then the colon will going to come. Now the finally you will going to add the variable name or the list name on which you want to iterate. So the name of my list is this. This list is currently containing 4 different values, not 4, 5 different values. Okay, so on this list one by one, I want to access the values. So currently here, based on the index, we have accessed the value. But now using the for each loop, we will going to access the value from this list. Okay. So now the curly braces come. So whatever the changes and modification you will going to do, you will going to do within this block. Okay, within this curly braces. So let's check how it will going to work. Let's go back here. Okay, so this is the for each loop we have added. So this list currently, let's suppose this is the list. Okay, so this list currently containing 4 different value, 10, 20, 20, and 30. So what will be the data type here? Here data type will be of integer type. Okay, so let's assume this is integer. So the same data type we will going to enter whatever the values your list is holding. Currently this list is holding integer value, so data type will be integer. So why this variable is created here, str? So we have created this value because in the loop one by one value will going to come from this list to this variable. okay, to this variable. So whenever we will going to use this for each loop over the list, now from the list one by one we are trying to access these values so that we can perform the changes to this list. Okay, so what will happen, as soon as you will going to add this line from this list, first variable will going, or the first value will going to store to this str. Okay, what is the first value? 10. 10 will going to come here. Now let's suppose I want to do the addition. I want to add more values to this. 10 plus 1 I want to do, so that it can become 11. Okay, so what you will going to do here in the str plus 1. So what is available in the str? The first value, that is the 10. Okay, this is done. Now again, the it will going to come here to the curly braces. Again it will going to move here, because still the values are available in the list. Until the values are available, it will goes on and execute the automation which you have added within this curly braces. Now the second value will going to come 20. 20 will comes to this str. Now 20 plus 1 will going to happen. Okay, this will become 21 here. Now again we are still having more values, so your list again will going to pass next variable, that is the 20. 20 again is the next variable. This automation whatever you have added will going to execute. Again more values are available, so again this loop will going to run. Now the next line will come, that is the 30. Okay, now 30 will going to come. 30 plus 1 will going to happen, and it will becomes the 31 here. Okay, in this way, till the list will going to have the values, this for each loop will goes on working and execute the code which you will going to write within this curly braces. Once all the values are shifted to this str, then the loop will going to end, and it will comes out of this curly braces. Okay, so here what we are now trying to do, this is the list already having the multiple names we have added one by one. Let's try to access these values. Okay, so how we will going to access one by one in this str, the values will going to come, and this is the system.debug we are having, using which we will going to first print how the values will going to come to this str. So system.debug, here let's print the str values. Okay, so what is the variable here? Str, same we will going to print. I want to know that what values will going to come to this, okay, from this list. Now let's execute this. Okay, so here you will see that because of this loop, till the loop list will going to have the value, this debug will going to execute. Okay, the same thing we have discussed here. Till the list will going to have the value, this part will going to execute that much of time. Okay, so the same thing is happening here also, that your list is having 5 values, so the 5 times your debug has run and it has printed me the value one by one. So the first time from this list, John will going to store to the str. Now the same value is printed. Okay, the debug has executed and the same value is printed. Now from the list, the second value is Bob. Okay, so Bob will going to come to this str and the same value is printed. Now the next and next, till this list will going to have the value, this debug will going to execute. Okay, so the 5 times this has executed one by one. Got it? Any queries still here? This is known as for each loop. What you need to add, 3 values you will going to add. The first will be the data type of your list. Okay, what type of values your list is containing: decimal, integer, string. Okay, the same data type you will going to add. Now the next you will going to have the variable which will going to hold the values one by one. Okay, so this is the variable, so it can be of any name. Okay, you can write the integer value, any name you can add. Okay, so it's just a variable name. Now using this colon, you will going to separate and add the list name, on which list you want to iterate. Okay, this list will going to can contain single value also or the multiple value also. If it contains single value, so how many times this part will going to execute? If your list is containing only one value,
One time.
yeah, so that time only once your system.debug will going to execute, because list is having only single value. Now let's suppose I want to know the size of my list. What is the size of my list? Size means how many values it is holding. Okay, so in that case, how you can get the size? So we are having the method again that is known as the size. So let's try to execute the size. So size is of integer number only. Okay, it can be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, anything. So which means the value it will going to return will be of integer type. So now let's create a variable of integer type where we're going to store the size of list. Okay, so how we will going to calculate the size of list? For this list, I want to get the size. So you will going to add the list, then dot size. In this way, it will going to return you the size of your list, and the size will be stored to this variable, and this variable is of integer type. Okay, and then we will going to debug the size so that we can get to know what size is of this list. Okay, now let's debug this. This will be the size. Okay, now let's copy and execute str. Now you will see the size of the list is 5, which means your list is containing 5 different values. So 5 values, not different, 5 values. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay, so the size is 5. In this way, you can get the size also of your list using the size. Got it?
Yes.
Okay, so this is about the list. In here what we have discussed, the initialization and declaration of the list. At the time of initialization itself, we have added the different values. Okay, using this curly braces, we can add the values. Now, the second way we are having to use this add function. In this, using the add, we can add the more values to the list. Now, based on the index, we try to access the values, and using the for each loop also, we try to access the values from this list. Okay, and this is the way using which you can get the size of your list. Now let's move to the second type what we are having.